Evening, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for the 5th annual Brainpower Chronicles. Really appreciate you turning out tonight. And we just want to remind everybody that this is sort of a no phones, masks on kind of a situation tonight. So thank you so much for your help and cooperation in keeping this a healthy and safe environment. My name is Gabriel Spitzer. I am a Seattle area journalist and storyteller and all-around fan of stories in general. Before we get too far, I know we're supposed to save the thank yous for the end, but I don't want to get into this program without taking just a second to acknowledge Susan Fee, who is the director of tonight's program, and Casey Ron, the assistant director. It's been a total labor of love from both of them. Thank you. Thank you both for your generosity and your heart in making this a reality. So I have been honored to do this for 3 years now, and it has been a pretty weird 3 years. 2 years ago, we were all in person. We were sitting right next to strangers and breathing each other's air and sharing wine glasses. It was very decadent. And then, of course, last year we were all virtual, which in some ways was kind of a drag, but in other ways was actually really beautiful because you could just feel how people on both sides of the Zoom camera were hungrily reaching out across the distance to establish a human connection, and that was really gorgeous. And so now, of course, we are here. And some of us are not here. Some of us are watching from home virtually, so I want to welcome everybody and into this kind of weird twilight time of pandemic times. And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge everyone, making the effort and making the choice to be together on this night. Thank you. It's been a weird stretch of time, and for people who live with mental illness or people who love those who do, it's been a real test. And one of the things that's kept me sane through the pandemic, and really through my whole life, is just the clarity that comes from stories. To be here and be present 100% and walk in somebody else's shoes, or better yet, to invite other people to walk into your shoes. It's just one of the most therapeutic and really sacred things that I can think of. And so I'm really excited for this program tonight, because storytelling is also one of the bravest things. And we have 5 really wonderful, courageous storytellers here tonight to share their true stories of resilience and strength, and I cannot wait for you to meet them. So let's go ahead and get underway. We're going to start with Erica Blumfield, and for her story, there's a way you imagine your life is going to turn out, and then there's how your story actually unfolds. And by the time that Erica wound up in Los Angeles, the plot had already started to spin out of control. So she's with us now all the way from LA, and she's bringing us this story of strength and setbacks and what it means to feel seen in more ways than one. Please welcome Erica Blumfield.
It's 1993, and I'm 17 years old, and all my dreams are coming true. I'm accepted to New York University. I put my volatile home life behind me, and I moved from Philadelphia to Manhattan, determined to be a Broadway star. I received some expert advice from a veteran New Yorker. They tell me, in New York City, be like an exclamation point, not like a question mark. I took this advice to heart, and I set off on my New York journey filled with excitement and enthusiasm and without doubt. And it wasn't long before it paid off. I was cast in one of the most esteemed play festivals in the country. I shot a short film in Amsterdam, and I had meetings with agents and managers and casting directors, and I was on my way. But then, after a decade of pursuit, I found myself stuck in almost making it, and my confidence and opportunities were drying up. My boyfriend, who I loved with every ounce of my being, he was a drummer in a rock and roll band, and his career had started to take off, and he was away all the time on the road. And it was really hard for me because he was my main emotional support, because I was estranged from my family and had been isolating from my friends. But then, just when I thought all was lost, I was cast as the star of a reality television show. And the executive producers were Madonna and Oprah. My life was being filmed and broadcast 24 hours a day live. I was very dedicated to delivering compelling television. I stood on street corners and preached about defeating evil political agenda. I pushed a shopping cart filled with trash that I had collected all through the city. But with this trash, I was going to build a huge art installation called Hoot Hoot, Don't Pollute. And I remember lying down in the middle of a heavily trafficked intersection. All the filming and constant pressure had taken its toll. I called out, "Cue the extras," calling out to the director, "Cut, I can't take it anymore." See, I wasn't on a reality television show. I was in the middle of a bipolar episode, and the show was a figment of my psychosis. My boyfriend didn't understand, and he left me. I lost my job, ran out of money, and was evicted from my apartment. A friend who was living in Los Angeles from all the way across the country didn't fully understand the extent of what was going on with my mental state. She invited me to move out to Los Angeles, stay with her to help me get back up on my feet. And so I flew out to LA knowing the red carpet would be waiting for me. Not long after my arrival, my friend found me, crying, hysterical, devastated about the breakup. I had swallowed a fistful of tranquilizers and washed it down with a bottle of wine, crying that I wanted to die. She rushed me to the hospital, where I was kept for 2 weeks, my mood still bouncing high and low. A social worker helped arrange for me to go to a recovery home funded by LA County's Department of Mental Health for the homeless who have mental illness. It was called The Harbor. The Harbor, a metaphor, I suppose, shelter from the raging rainstorm that was my bipolar illness, my madness in which I was dangerously dancing. There were 10 or so other residents at the Harbor, and we had therapy and group therapy. There were social workers on site and a psychiatrist who helped us accept our diagnosis and learn medication management. We went on outings to movies and to tourist attractions, and we had chores like cooking for the other residents. And I was improving with these services, but finding out that you're not famous is really depressing. This one night, I was very depressed, and it was my night to cook for all the residents. It was shopping time, and Harriet, my favorite caretaker, announced for us to all pile into the van. I shrunk low in my seat, knowing that passerbys would see us all as wackos. I wasn't one of those people. At the market, I grabbed the easiest thing I could think of. Harriet kindly suggested I try again. Feeling nostalgic, pushing my cart through the supermarket, sane enough now to know what to do with it, I filled my cart. And when I got back to the harbor, I flipped on the oldies station, and I danced about, and I chopped, and I diced, and the garlic sizzled in the pan, and the peppers and eggplant roasted to perfection, the sauce thickened in the pot, and I was making penne della casa, penne of the house, a dish I had learned to make at the cafe where I had worked for 8 years before my mind began to unravel. I finished just as the dinner bell rang. I put the food out on the table for all the residents. But without the activity of cooking, my mood sunk, and I looked around at the table of strangers, and I longed for my old life, for my friends who were having career success, getting married, having babies, while I was here, and mental illness felt like a death sentence. And then I heard someone clear their throat, and I looked up, and I saw it was Gary. Gary had a form of schizophrenia, had been chronically homeless, and he announced, "Erica, this is like a 5-star hotel meal. Thank you." Gary's reaction was an awakening. I had been so focused on what I had lost, I was blind to what I had found: a new community and a second chance. It's been 17 years since I left the harbor. It wasn't a straight line. I spent 2 years in recovery homes before I set out to rebuild my life on the outside. I volunteered, I made friends, and I became a teacher, teaching reading and writing to elementary school children. And teaching has been a lifeline for me. When I walk through the hallways and my students call out, "Hi, Miss Erica, hi, Miss Erica," like I'm some kind of star, and they bound in the classroom so eager to learn. It's a privilege to get to help guide them as they find their purpose. Sure, I'm not the kind of star I had imagined all those years ago. It's taken another form, one which I'm truly grateful for. When I worry that I'll have another breakdown, I remember Gary and the harbor and the optimism it's instilled within me, the rebellion against darkness, and the resolve to rejoice in my recovery, even in the stormiest of days. With services provided like the harbor, what I know to be true is that people can come back from that place as I came back. Thank you.
Well, we hear a lot about this word, stigma, this idea that systems and people and language can attach shame to certain kinds of illness and not to others. Well, our next storyteller grew up in a setting where mental illness was something to be hidden. And really, the entire culture around her just reinforced that same message. Yuki Maeda lives in the Seattle area, which is a long way from the home of her birth. But, that distance, as we're about to hear, has given her some special insight into the dangers of stigma and into the power of acceptance. So please welcome Yuki Maeda.
I'm 10 years old. It's a hot and humid night in Tokyo, Japan. I'm rushing to the garage gate with my sister Keiko and my brother Naoki before Dad comes home, making sure the gate is open for him to park his car, and we greet him and welcome him home. My dad didn't come home every night, but when he did, our house felt uptight, and we were kind of scared of him, even our dog. He thought the silence was a virtue, and he wanted his 3 kids to be very well behaved and perfect. Yuki, your hair is everywhere on the bathroom floor. Think of the next person and tidy up before you're done. Keiko, you eat too much. Our dad's mood was unpredictable. Sometimes he didn't talk to us. Looking back, I can't believe how oppressed we were. We didn't even know how to voice our opinions, but that was the only way we knew. I thought it was normal. My sister, being the oldest, always complied, but my brother and I rebelled. As a child, my brother Naoki was very quiet and critical on appearances, but I knew he had a fire inside in him. One day, he bluntly said to me, "I wished and prayed that you were a boy when you were born." He obviously wanted a brother, and he treated me like one. We loved watching Japanese pro wrestling on TV every Friday night. And he would practice all his favorite pro wrestling moves on me, like the figure four leg lock and Western lariat. I can't even remember how many times I got totally squashed on the living room sofa. He started smoking in high school, even though, based on Japanese social standards, he risked suspension. In Japan, uniformity and conformity are very important. You're not supposed to stand out from others. But Naoki permed his hair and colored it in super light brown, also against the rules in Japanese high schools. I remember Mom getting phone calls from his teacher. It's like she's getting reprimanded for her son's bad behaviors. Then Naoki auditioned and joined this production called Jannies to become a backup dancer for the Japanese boy bands. He started to appear on TV shows and traveled the country with the boy bands. Seeing him in concerts and girls following him around was the weirdest thing, because to me, he's just my eccentric brother. In the late 80s, I've attended Buddhist Girls High School in Tokyo. All I want to do is going to the hair bands and glam rocks concerts in my cute school uniform. Like most popular bands like Bon Jovi, Rat, Poison, Guns N' Roses, Ozzy, they're coming to Tokyo to do concerts. I'm sneaking out of school to get to the concert on time. I'm following my brother's footsteps. I'm the rebel, we are the rebel buddies. And in 1991, I continued to rebel, and I actually moved to Tacoma, Washington all by myself to attend college. Naoki eloped to Hawaii and got married to a woman who I had never even met. When we both visited home at the same time, I was glad to see Naoki was very happy and being a great dad to his young son. Over the next 12 years, our dad was totally missing in action, and Naoki and I didn't talk much either until July 2003. One day I received a phone call from him. It was a total surprise because we pretty much didn't have any contact unless I was visiting Tokyo to see the family. He says, "I've been very depressed, and I've thought of killing myself." I'm just in shock to hear his very unsure and lifeless voice. I promised him that everything is going to be okay and told him to move to the US and live with me in Seattle. He says, "Really? My son too?" We talked on the phone every day from that point. On about the fifth night, I made a routine phone call, as usual, but he didn't answer, so I left him a voice message. But the next time my phone rings, it's not Naoki. It's my mom and sister in Tokyo. "Yuki-chan, we're in the police car right now, on the way to identify a body, possibly your brother." "What are you talking about?" really gone. Naoki committed suicide. I can't breathe. I just can't breathe. I'm sobbing and gasping for air. I can't breathe. I opened the living room window of my third floor apartment in Seattle, Chinatown. Normally, I hear cars, people talking, laughing, a drunk person yelling. But all I hear is myself gasping for air. I can't breathe. My world just became pitch black. Why my own brother? I blamed myself for not taking him seriously when he said he'd thought of taking his own life. I failed. I couldn't save him. I felt sick thinking, what if I was the last person he had spoken to? What if he was already dead when I left him a voice message? I felt like a loser. Why? Why him? Why did he commit suicide? Back in Tokyo at the funeral home, I see so many family and relatives' faces that I haven't seen in ages. Everybody looks confused. I see Naoki's wife. She's very pregnant with their second child. When she starts coming towards us, I panic. What does she want? She says, what should we say to everybody? I'm like, what do you mean? She says, should we tell everybody that he had a heart attack? I can't believe what I'm hearing. No, your husband committed suicide. The wife's comment shows there is a great stigma attached to suicide. I'm just feeling like all these people are clueless, including my mom and sister. They're not standing up for themselves, but moreover, not standing up for Naoki. They handle the situation with shame. Then I realize I'm the one who changed over the years by living and getting educated in America. What if we can openly talk about things like depression? What if Naoki had the right support from his loved ones and the community? He might be still alive today. I want to shake all these people and ask, why is it so difficult to talk about it? Why can't we talk about mental health openly and choose empowerment over shame? To this date, I'm the only one in my family who will speak about his death. Naoki's suicide completely changed my life forever. It's been over 18 years since his death, but it still hurts. Since that day, I've been through years of therapy sessions, and I finally learned how to change the perspective of his death. I stopped asking why, because there's no answer. He was suffering from mental illness. Still, I feel vulnerable and guarded when the topic of suicide comes up because I don't want to be hurt by ignorance. I want to help educate people to honor my brother, just like I had to educate myself. I know that mental illnesses are just like diabetes or heart conditions. There's nothing to be ashamed of. So, if you see me, please ask me about Naoki. I would love to talk about him. Thank you.
So our next storyteller is a doctor, and she's worked with people as a general practitioner and as a psychiatrist. But this story from Victoria Harris, it's not coming from the point of view that you might assume. There's really a ton in this story for us to learn from. I mean, everything from how to navigate systems that marginalize people to how to access our inner resources. And mostly, though, it's a vivid testament to the work that everyone in this room is doing. Please welcome Dr. Victoria Harris.
I'm sitting on a metal chair in a medical clinic. I'm talking to a psychiatric provider on a computer screen in front of me. I'm in a small, rural county jail. I'm wearing bright neon orange scrubs. I have a boot cast on one foot because I was injured during one of the arrests. The corrections officer that brought me to the appointment, he's about 2 feet behind me. This appointment isn't private at all. It's kind of creepy. I want to ask the officer if this appointment counts. Does this appointment count as my hour out today? You see, I'm in solitary confinement, and that means that I get a maximum of 1 hour out every day. And I'd like to know if this appointment counts, but I'm not going to ask the officer. Somehow I always manage to piss him off. The provider on the computer screen is talking to me. He just told me I'm delusional. I turn away and cry. At the same time, 1,000 half-formed comments go blasting through my brain. I knew something was wrong. That's why I had the MRI done, the one of my brain. They put dye in the blood vessels of my brain. It showed the structure of my brain to be normal. Something was wrong, though. I was so disorganized. I couldn't manage food. Numbers didn't behave the way they always had, and so I missed appointments. The provider on the screen continues. He just told me I'm toxic. I'm toxic on a prescription medication that I've been taking for almost 15 years. And now that because I'm almost 60 years of age, my body can't manage it anymore, and I'm toxic. He's being so kind. He's talking to me in a way, he's suggesting how he wants to help me. And that reminds me of back in the day, back in yesteryear, I used to help. I used to make treatment plans for people too when they were sick. There it is. He called me Dr. Harris. He knows who I am. That's been a thing. Even the judges have called me Miss Harris. During one of the hearings, I said, "Excuse me, Your Honor, that's not my name. My name is Dr. Harris." My defense attorney jumped up and objected. There was chaos in the courtroom, and I lost track of the proceedings at that point. Even the corrections officers. Officer Crosswaite said to me, "So, you want to be called Miss Harris? You want to be called Inmate Harris?" And I chose Inmate Harris. You see, I know that the orders are to send me, no matter what my name is, to Guantanamo Bay for more isolation and torture. It's because I believe my neighbors are the worst kind of predators in the entire world. And somehow, Inadvertently, I got caught up as a federal whistleblower in the sex trafficking ring, and now they want to send me to Gitmo. But my family doesn't know where I am. No one in the system has any emergency contact information for me. My children don't know where I am. I haven't talked to my children. The provider on the screen continues, but now I have some questions of my own. How long have I been here? I've been to court several times on video camera, but the charges have never been read out. What have I been charged with? How come I don't know? I was seeing a psychotherapist. I told her what was going on in my life. Why didn't she tell me I was sick? If I'm a physician, a psychiatrist, shouldn't I have known I was so sick? The provider on the screen continues, but I can't take in anymore. This interaction, person on a computer screen, that's more human interaction in 20 minutes than I've had for days. I'm exhausted now. I want to go back to my cell. Now, I don't care about my hour out anymore today. I can contain things in my cell. It's easier there. It's a few days later, and I'm doing much better. They let me out of solitary confinement, getting along with my tank buddies. The corrections officers and I have come to a very clear understanding of where I am in their house. But you know, I've noticed that the more time I spend in reality, the more my anxiety is rising. I can feel it rise. I can't sleep all the time. I can't watch TV all the time, and I certainly can't take the fentanyl that my tank buddies keep offering me. I tell myself, Victoria, it's normal to be anxious. This is an abnormal, anxiety-provoking situation. That doesn't help much. So I do what I know will help me. I make a written schedule, and I glue it on the wall of my cell using the toothpaste. I have to do that 3 times because it gets torn down during the tank searches for drugs by the officers. I exercise daily. I make sure to hang out with my tank buddies. I've noticed that my brain is profoundly impaired. I've been psychotic for almost a year. I can't learn new information. So I spend my time relearning old songs. Finally, numbers start to behave like they used to. Now, I do my best to survive incarceration and having been psychotic. Almost 2 months have passed, and today, I'm going to get out of jail. I've managed to arrange release on bail. On my way out the door, I am so grateful. I remembered to ask for medications. They gave me 2 weeks' worth. I don't understand. I have insurance, but I had to pay for all my medications and the clinic visits, and they weren't going to give me any meds on my way out the door. But I remembered to ask. I have 2 weeks' worth. I know I need help. I'm not psychotic anymore, but I'm incredibly vulnerable. I don't have a follow-up appointment anywhere. I don't even know if I have a primary care provider anymore. When I was so ill, I think I got a letter that said that he was retiring and I was supposed to sign up with someone else in the group, and I was way too disorganized. I'm homeless. I have no place to live. All of my belongings, except my beloved dog and some personal paperwork were put into storage for me. I know where the storage unit is. I don't even know if the boxes are marked. I don't have my cell phone anymore. In the chaos leading up to my last arrest, I lost my cell phone, and the insurance company doesn't want to replace it because I don't live where I used to live. And I don't have the serial number of that phone, so I can't prove ownership. In the meantime, I have criminal, civil, and administrative charges pending. I have lawyers trying to get a hold of me. My family's trying to get a hold of me, and my anxiety is rising again. What am I going to do now? Okay, Victoria. Do what you did before, and this time, now, because you can, because you're out of jail, call NAMI. Somehow NAMI will help. I knew of NAMI when I was a hospital-based psychiatrist in the greater Puget Sound area. We used to refer the identified patient or families to NAMI all the time, but I never really heard how it went. I called NAMI anyways. I called NAMI in 2 counties. I called NAMI in the rural county, where I had been so ill and incarcerated, and I called NAMI in the eastern Washington county, where I now live. And don't you know, 2 people called me back. 2 real live people called me back. And that made all the difference to me as I put together the shattered pieces of my life. Both of those people were compassionate and kind and understanding. And both of those people encouraged me to attend the support groups. And so I did. And I continue to attend the support groups, both in Spokane County and in Jefferson County on the Olympic Peninsula. And it was through the support groups that I got some answers to my most fundamental question, and that was the one around personal responsibility and my illness. And it was through the support groups that those people helped me to really understand that my illness robbed me of the one thing that I needed to know that I was ill. And that was insight. And that without insight, I didn't have a chance of knowing. And I was able to use that kernel of insight, and stretch it to a bridge of self-compassion for some of the things that I had done and some of the things that I had said while I was so ill. And so today, I still attend both support groups as a peer, and I also get involved in other NAMI activities, such as the lobbying legislative initiatives. And what a tremendously powerful experience that has been. To gather together with other NAMI stakeholders, to go through some formal education by some top-level people in the NAMI organization through the Public Policy Division, and then go forward in a very coordinated manner to legislative representatives, and to be able to speak and to listen and to witness on issues particularly germane to NAMI. Again, how empowering. I hope to do that again in the future. So for me, NAMI has been part of my path forward from all that has happened. Mine is a path forward of continued personal stability and growth, and being part of the NAMI community to ensure that services and resources are available to everyone who's affected by mental illness. Thank you.
So great. I just want to express my gratitude again for these storytellers for sharing such vulnerable stories and being truth tellers when we really desperately need that. So thank you. as we've been hearing, the battle to survive and to manage mental illness, let alone triumph over it, it can be an epic battle. But there's also like 1,000 little battles, these much smaller little skirmishes to fend off anxiety or despair. And so, in the spirit of honoring these little struggles, I'm going to tell you just a small story about a small battle and a small victory. So it starts in kind of like early, mid-pandemic at the end of a very, very long day. And for me, a long day means work, it means homeschooling, it means tedium and cabin fever, and basically just trying to keep these two preteens that live in my house from going completely feral. And I gotta say, the 12-year-old one on this particular day just had me at the end of my rope. One of the reasons that he started to lock his door, so if you want to talk to him, you got to talk through a door. And so you get there and you have to sort of raise your voice to be heard. And then you don't hear anything, and so you have to repeat it, and you talk louder, and then you get these mumbled syllables in reply, and you say, "What?" And then you say, "What?" again, and then before you know it, you're having a screaming match. I didn't mean to end up here, but this is where we're at. And these little negative interactions with the kids would just add up over the course of the day. And by the evening, I was a raw nerve. I was totally out of gas and just ready to clock out from parenting for the day. So, the kid is just blah, 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 blah. Every little word he's saying is like a hot little wire in my brain. It's kind of driving me nuts. And so by the time bedtime rolls around, and bedtime is not a time when either of us are at our best in particular, I was feeling pretty raw, pretty vulnerable. But, the kid couldn't sleep. And this is a problem that kids expect parents to be able to solve. It's like if I had a solution, I probably wouldn't be this exhausted right now. Okay. But, he asked in this kind of small voice if I would just sit with him while he falls asleep, like we did when he was a toddler. This, I thought, is a trap. I was this close to having some time to myself, having like my 45 minutes of sacred me time before bed or whatever, and here we are. He's pulling me back in, so I'm like, all right, fine, I will do this. I do not feel like it, but I will sit with you while you fall asleep. And so I sat down on his bed and tried to sort of make use of the time to meditate, which is something that I aspire to doing all the time, but I generally fall short of. So in any case, I just sat down there next to him on the bed and tried to let go of all these negative thoughts I'd been having about myself and about my son, and just to focus on my breathing. But the kid is not helping there either, because as he starts to kind of drift off, he's not snoring exactly, but he starts to breathe loudly and just kind of and it's distracting and it's annoying. I mean, it's just loud enough to like be a little stone in my shoe as I'm trying to clear my head. And I'm just in no kind of position to deal with it. I was getting frustrated. I was just about to stand up and walk away. But I had this little realization at that point that, maybe instead of forcing myself to focus on my breathing, I should instead focus on his breathing. And so I kind of unclenched and allowed myself to go into a different headspace a little bit, and I just started to meditate on my son's breathing. And almost right away, I had this feeling that, I'm exactly where I am supposed to be. I felt calm, and I felt peace, and I felt gratitude, because how much longer is he going to let me sit with him while he falls asleep? So we sat there for a few minutes together, breathing in and out, and then I got up. He was fast asleep, and somehow I was ready to go back and do it all again the next day. Thanks. Thank you so much for listening, and again, for honoring this really amazing NAMI Washington storytelling tradition that has sprung up here in our region, and I'm just so grateful for it. I want to just remind folks that as we're here hearing these incredible stories of resilience and recovery, that that a lot of people are still in the middle of their stories right now, and those people need help and support and resources to get to the part of the story that has the healing and the recovery and the resilience. So everybody in here, I think, probably knows very well that NAMI Washington has been incredibly steadfast in its mission to build better lives for Washingtonians who are impacted by mental illness. And I am going to invite someone to the stage now to let us know how we can do our part to keep this organization strong and vibrant. So please welcome Laura Ruderman.
Well, thank you all for coming. Isn't it amazing to be like out with people that we don't know? Yes, applaud that. So I have the task that generally no one wants to do, but that I love, which is asking you to make a financial contribution to NAMI Washington. And I have to say, I think Victoria did a far better job than I will do, but I promised Lauren I would do it, so here I go. So why do I love this role? It's because I don't see it as asking you to give up something. I'm asking you to invest in creating the future. Our contributions today are almost like magical spells that create the future. And we do this every day, don't we? When we go to a coffee shop, we're not paying for the fancy drink that they hand us. No, those beans, that milk, oat in my case, maybe cow, almond, soy for you, that was already purchased. We're investing in that store so that they can buy the beans, the milk, the flavoring for the drink that we're going to want to go buy tomorrow. You know, I used to say when I would do this kind of ask that, if we wanted to see a future with Blockbusters and Starbucks, we should keep funding Blockbusters and Starbucks. And clearly, we did not want to see a future with Blockbuster, unless you live in Bend, Oregon, because we did not invest in them. We used our money, we always use our money to create the future we want to see. And clearly, we wanted a streaming future. Well, the same is true when it comes to mental health. If you're here tonight or you're watching at home, we know that you are out there watching at home. You do not escape this ask. I'm pretty confident that you want to see a future that includes high-quality mental health treatment that is accessible at the moment that it's needed wherever you live. And you want to see a future where the families of people with mental illness, which includes me, bipolar daughter in recovery from addiction, you want a future where the families of people with mental illness find the same community support as the families of people with other illnesses, like cancer or heart disease or diabetes. And you want to see a future where the laws of the state of Washington are supportive, not punitive, when folks with mental illness are in crisis. Donating to NAMI Washington, whether with a check or credit card here in the theater or at namiwa.org/donate, if you're watching at home, is the way to create that future. That's what Lauren and her amazing staff, which if you don't know has grown to 8 at this point, that's what they do every day, and they need our support. So please, pull out your magic wand. I think the house lights are gonna come up so I can watch everybody. Pull out your magic wand, your credit card, your checkbook, grab the envelope that's in here, and cast a spell to create a future that works for all of us and our loved ones. Yes, now is the time, and I realize not everybody carries pens. So, who needs a pen? I'm supposed to also be entertaining the people at home, but people at home, you should not be caring what's going on up here because you should be walking over to your purse, your desk, wherever your credit card or your checkbook is, and going to namiwa.org/donate. Who else needs a pen? Here, you want me to give you the pen?
Yeah, just give me a pen. Thanks.
Anybody on this side need a pen? As you think about the contribution that you're making, here's what I'm going to ask you to do. You're going to get, do any of us actually write checks or get bank statements anymore? You're going to get your bank statement, you're going to get your credit card statement in a couple weeks, and you're going to see this donation. And I'd like you to write your check, make your donation for an amount that's going to make you smile, that's going to make you feel proud, that's going to give you the sense that you have listening here tonight, that people's lives, real people's lives, are impacted by mental illness, and you have done something that makes you feel good to make sure, to try and make sure that that impact, that burden is lessened for people and their families. I suspect that most of us watching today have some experiences. I did not think I was going to cry. I never do this. Most of us have an experience that makes us understand how important this work is. So write that check, make that donation for an amount that's going to make you feel good, that's going to make you feel proud, that's going to make you feel like you did something tonight to create the future, to make the world a better place and create the future that we all want to see. I am supposed to stay up here and vamp until, ushers, sorry, I forgot that part. When you are done writing your check, your credit card, pass your envelopes to the ends. Some of you may be familiar with doing this, depending on your religious tradition. Pass your envelopes to the ends, where the ushers will pick them up, and when I stop seeing that movement, you get to stop listening to me talk. Those of you at home, I'm going to say again, and some of you at home are watching this months after it has actually happened, and you may be wondering, namiwa.org/donate, is it still live? Can I still go there? And the answer is yes, you can. We create the future every day. So whether you are here tonight with us in the theater, whether you are watching this being live streamed, or whether you are watching it on one of the many streaming services on which I am sure it will be available later, please go to the website and make that donation. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, I'm getting applause. I hear applause. That means I think I'm done. What?
Another pen.
Another pen, yes. Lord knows we don't want anybody not to make a donation because they don't have a pen. I am going to go back to my seat and make my contribution. I hope that everybody here is as moved as I have been so far tonight. We have, I think, 2 storytellers left to hear from. Make that contribution that makes you proud, that will make you smile when you see it on your checkbook statement or your credit card statement later. And thank you for braving the rain. Thank you for braving the COVID anxiety. And thank you for being here tonight to support our storytellers and to support NAMI Washington. And now let us get back to hearing the last 2 stories. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura, and thank you everybody for your generosity, both here and virtually. Again, it's never too late to give, so if for some reason you can't give right now, consider giving as soon as you're able. So back into the stories now. We've heard a little bit about how strange it is to find out that your grip on reality is a little bit less secure than you had assumed. Well, this next story is partly about how coming back from that place to a place of actual healing and health, that can be really disorienting too. But it can also bring healing and sometimes even grace. Julia Stabler is a Seattleite. She's our storyteller. She grew up as a high achiever, an athlete, and somebody who's used to thinking of herself as a competent and pretty well-grounded person, not as somebody whose life was about to melt down just a few years into adulthood. Please welcome Julia Stabler.
I was a senior at Washington State University, and I usually looked forward to my meetings with my favorite professor, but this time was different. I was dreading it. I'd just run all the way across campus. I was sweaty and underprepared. I stayed up all night working on this paper, but it was still disorganized. Instead of being met with the disappointment that I expected, he actually asked me if I was okay. I was surprised and thought about it. I was actually so stressed out. I mean, college is supposed to be hard, right? But I had been really struggling lately, and for the first time it sunk in that I should probably seek some professional help. So I went to a school therapist who referred me to a psychiatrist, and I was expecting to be diagnosed with depression. I knew it ran in my family, but she actually prescribed me some medication for bipolar disorder. I was so surprised. What? This doesn't make any sense. I can't have a severe mental illness. I was the captain of my cheer squad in high school. I was nearly a straight A student. I had so many friends, and I felt so functional. It didn't make any sense. So I went and I sought out a second opinion. I saw a psychologist off campus who ran me through a battery test, and he concluded that I was simply just really, really stressed out. And so he told me to just take it easy, sleep a little bit more, make sure you're eating properly. I was just really sensitive. I walked away thinking, thank God, I'm not mentally ill. The next 3 years of my life were a total roller coaster, and to say that my life was messy is an understatement. One night, I found myself alone in my apartment, crumpled on the floor, crying my eyes out, and thinking more seriously than ever about attempting suicide. When I woke up the next morning, still crumpled on the floor, I told myself that I need to do something drastic to make a big change in my life. It was 2013, and San Francisco was in a major tech boom. I had a good friend who offered for me to crash on her couch while I found a job and an apartment. With her by my side, my heart was healing, and I was excited, and I was doing a lot better. There were so many fun things to do there, people to meet. I was going to networking events. I was going to parties. We were going to the beach. There were so many clubs, bars, booze. I was having a great time. And then I met this guy. He was a local, and I fell in love with him. And then he dumped me, and I was totally heartbroken. I realized that my lifestyle was really starting to catch up to me at that time. And at the same time, I also realized that I was way in over my head with my job position. All these old anxiety feelings really started to pop back up for me. This year, we were going to the South by Southwest Music Festival. I looked forward to this girls' trip every single year. I went with 8 of my good friends from grade school. We always had a great time. This year was different, though, and I felt like I really needed this trip. I was stressed out. It was like the universe had convened for me at this very moment to get a break from my everyday life. And when we got down there, I realized that my friends, they just weren't really on the same wavelength as me. They were so boring. So I ditched them, and I went on my own adventure. I was following this intense energy from my heart. I was meeting new people. It was so exciting. And then I missed my flight home. My friends were so furious with me. Julia, what are you thinking? Why are you being so irresponsible? I made it home a couple days later on a flight, and when I got to work, I was fired from my job. I wasn't worried. I was actually really excited. I was elated, inspired. I knew that this was my chance to own my own business. I could buy an art studio and remodel it. I was going to invite artists from around the world and host local events, and it was going to be awesome. I would show them. That night, my mind raced with all these visions from the past, present, and future. When I woke up, I knew I was going to change the world because I was actually a princess. I was the princess of San Francisco. I ran out to my backyard searching for a helicopter that was going to come pick me up. My prince from France was coming to pick me up in a helicopter. My roommate realized that something was really wrong and called my mom, who hopped on a plane to come get me right away. I knew that I was going to the hospital, but I genuinely thought that at some point I would be magically flushed down a toilet or something and end up in Hogwarts. I kept asking them, when am I going to get to the other side? I met with a doctor that night who diagnosed me with bipolar disorder. She told me that I was having a manic-induced psychotic episode, that I had a full break from reality. I had her explain it twice to me, like, when am I going to get to the other side? And she explained it again. And for one moment, I understood what she was saying. And I asked her, so none of this is even real? And she shook her head. And I was full of so much sadness. It was the saddest moment of my life. And then just like that, it was gone, and delusions and hallucinations took over my brain again. The last thing I remember from being in the ER was being put in solitary confinement and forcibly medicated before I blacked out. I woke up really woozy in a different psych ward, and my family was waiting for me there. The psych ward was a lot easier environment than the ER, and actually I remember a lot of the people there. There was people there for psychosis and stuff like that, but other people who were there for other types of mental illness or other mental health issues that they were going through. There's this guy who told me that he was a vampire. There was this other kind of old man who I believed was Darth Vader in a disguise. And then there was this girl who had long brown hair, and I just remember her being in her room and screaming the whole time. It was really scary. Near the end of my week there, my dad sat me down after meeting with the doctor. We were in a private room, and he got my eye contact with me to make sure that I was paying attention to him. And he asked me if I knew that he loved me. And I thought about it really hard. Everything was so confusing, but I knew deep down that, yes, he did. Dad, I know that you love me. And then he pleaded with me, Julia, Mom and I are doing everything in our power to get you out of here. But in order to do that, you have to take your medication. Stop resisting, and we'll get you out of here. I didn't trust the doctors. I didn't trust the nurses. I didn't trust the medication at all, but I trusted my mom and dad. I decided that I was going to comply. Aftercare was just a waiting game. I was accepted to this program in Los Angeles, and we had some family down there who were nice enough to welcome my mom and I into their home during this time. They would drop me off to this program in the morning and pick me up at night like I was going to school. I thought it was so boring and pointless at the time, but I was in the right place. I was taking classes to learn about my illness. I was participating in group and individual therapy sessions, and I was just starting to understand and make sense of what happened, and I was starting to accept it. Coming out of psychosis is the strangest thing ever. Everything that had happened, the entire experience that had happened seemed so real. I mean, it was real. And then everybody who I loved and who cared about me was telling me that it didn't happen and that they were just delusions and hallucinations. It was very confusing. So I started doing some investigating for myself. I reviewed my text messages, my voicemails, my emails, my social media. I started calling friends and asking what their experience was. I was just connecting all the dots and putting the pieces together. It was all so scary and just really sad. I had to make a really tough decision. I made the decision to move home. I was 25 years old, living in my parents' basement, unemployed. I thought that my life was over, and I was super embarrassed. But luckily, I found an amazing psychiatrist who really gained my trust and helped me commit to treatment. I was already on a medication treatment, but he worked with me to create something that worked for both of us. I was dedicated to medication, regular check-ins, and regular therapy. I also made some major lifestyle changes. I decided, with his help, that I couldn't do any more recreational drugs, including marijuana. It's just too risky for my brain. I never want to go back to solitary, and I'll do anything in my power not to go there. I also had to limit my alcohol, work out more regularly. I also, for a short time, saw this anxiety specialist. I had what she called PTSD-like anxiety from the trauma of the entire experience and from hospitalization, so she helped me work through some of those memories and gave me some tools to cope. The shame is probably the hardest part to work through. I was so embarrassed by the things that I did and said when I was manic, and I had to learn how to forgive myself. I never would have expected, when I was younger, that I would struggle so much as an adult. Even though being hospitalized was extremely traumatizing, I'm glad that it happened because I was diagnosed and I wouldn't take it back. I'm proud of all the hard work I've done to foster all of my relationships, my career, my health, and my happiness. I'm engaged, and I get to get married next summer to this amazing guy. Thank you. This amazing guy who I've been in love with since 7th grade. He's loved me from up close and from afar through the worst and the best times of my life. Even though we weren't together at the time, 7 years ago when I was hospitalized, he would call my mom, I found out later, to check in on me, make sure I was okay. And also, I had memorized his number, so I would call him from the psych ward, and he actually answered my calls and was so compassionate towards me. And per the request of my parents, actually encouraged me to take my medication as well, which really helped. I have so many dreams for the future, and I feel so lucky to be here today, full of hope. Being diagnosed with bipolar disorder or any severe mental illness can seem like the end of the world, but it is truly just the beginning of a better future. Thank you.
Last one. Our final story tonight comes from a storyteller named Abraham Meyer. Abe's a firefighter in Chehalis, and the story he's going to tell was at least 20 years in the making. I just wanted to mention that I got the chance to hear this story earlier this week over the phone, and even over like a scratchy cell signal. Well, I know what you're in for, and I don't want to spoil it, so I'll just say, fasten your seatbelts, and welcome Abe Meyer.
July 3rd, 2000. Epic day for a climb in the North Cascade Wilderness. I'm with my buddy Mike and my brother Terry. It's been an amazing adventure, and we're on our way down the mountain. Things could not even be better. Ah! All of a sudden, my brother's yelling from behind, and by the time I turn to the side, he's right there, but I can't grab him, and he's right there, and he goes by, and he's going so fast, and he's yelling, and now he's flying through the air, and wham! He hits the side of the cliff, and he's not yelling, and his body's limp, and wham! He hits the cliff again, wham! Now he's 100 feet below me, at the bottom of the cliff in a pile. No. This can't be real. My brother's dead. 15 minutes later, I'm by his side. His head is so messed up. I know he's dead. And I check his pulse. But he has a pulse. He can't talk, but when I ask him to squeeze my hands, he squeezes my hands. He's alive. It's okay, T. I'm here. I got you. I'm a trained firefighter. I know what to do. We're going to save you. Hold on. It's going to be all right. 2 hours later, we're 200 yards down the mountain, and we have 11 miles to go. Mike, this isn't going to work. We're going to kill him trying to get him out this way. You'll have to go get help. I'll stay here with Terry. I got this. I watched him leave. Dawn is breaking. I never realized how long the light takes to fill the sky. It's been such a long night with my brother, so long ago since Mike left for help. But I know help's coming. They gotta be here soon. My brother's regained some consciousness, and he's messed up, but he's alive. He's in pain, and he's cold, but I can tell him I love him. I'm here, you're not alone. And he can't remember anything. So when he gets frustrated or scared, wants to get up and try and save himself, I just let him know it's okay, T, help's coming. 10 more minutes and they'll be here. Just 10 more minutes. And he can't remember. So all night long, 10 more minutes, and it keeps him calm. I let him sleep, but only for about 20 minutes at a time. He's sleeping now, and I cuddle next to him, trying to keep him warm, and I listen to him breathe. T. Hey, T. T! He finally wakes up, but he's talking slow, and he's breathing slow. He tells me he's not in pain at all, and he's not cold. My brother's dying, and there's absolutely nothing that I can do. Come on, T, it's gonna be all right. Hang in there. It's okay, help's coming. They are gonna be here soon. Keep breathing. Hold on, please. Just 10 more minutes. I love you. And I scream at the top of my lungs, help! It's a month later now. Help finally did come. Search and rescue on the ground, and then the Navy helicopter in the air. They got him to Harborview, and after surgery, he's finally home. He's messed up, but he's gonna make it. I no longer have to be by his side making sure that he's safe. I can let down my guard, but I can't. I feel threatened, I feel vulnerable, and I feel ashamed. And when my mom tells me, you saved his life, like everyone keeps wanting to tell me, it makes me angry. It makes me so angry. And I don't know why. I just want everyone to leave me alone. Pretty good day. Out here in the woods, the spot where my brother fell. 2-year anniversary from when he went down. Just like last year, I'm out here, alone. Always alone. People are a liability, and so I avoid them. I'm out here trying to figure out why it happened. What happened? How did it happen? Did a rock slip? Could I have done something different? As if by figuring out why my brother fell off that cliff, I could figure out why I feel so sad, so angry, so alone. Why I see murder and death and horror all day long, and in the nighttime, the nightmares, they destroy me. People maimed and mangled, reaching out for help, needing me to help them. And I try my hardest, but I can never do enough. And then I wake up, and then I'm terrified, and I don't sleep anymore. And I just wish I knew why. I just wish I knew why. What a nice summer's day. Seattle. I'm at the dog park. It's been 4 years since my brother's accident. I'm with my pit bull named Sweetness, and she is amazing. I've had her for about a year now, ever since I went to therapy and found out that I have PTSD, and that what I'm going through is understandable. There's ways that I can heal and help ease my suffering. Having a dog has been the best medicine. She wakes me from my nightmares before they get bad. When I can't sleep, she soothes me until I can. And if I'm out in public, overwhelmed and crushed by my emotions, my feelings, and my anxieties, one hug from her and all my cares melt away. Some things are still hard, but I reckon this PTSD thing is going to be a thing of the past. And I'm moving forward, and I got this. Life is good. 2018, a little bit of a restless night at the fire station. Not sure why. I've got an amazing life. I've had tons of adventures, a wonderful family, plenty of struggles, but life is good. And yet at work lately, I feel more and more not so good. It's not on the calls or the trauma or the gore or the chaos. I love that stuff. I could do that all day long. My perfect day is 3 car crashes, a house fire, a couple CPRs, and then some steak. That is a great day, but the downtime, the nighttime, I just get so uncomfortable in my skin. And I wish my dog was with me. She always makes things better. But I haven't told any of the guys at the station that I need a dog to feel comfortable or safe or to sleep well through the night. They'd probably think that I was weak or unfit to do the job. So I stay silent. I gotta find a way to get a little tougher because things are getting rough right now, and I just wish there was someone I could talk to. I hope I sleep. It's a year later, August 2019. Can't believe it's been 8 months since I took that courageous step of going to Human Resources and letting them know that I have PTSD and I would like to request the accommodation of my service dog. 8 months since I was told that I was an effing idiot thinking I could bring a dog into a fire station, that people with service dogs don't belong in the fire service, and that I was weak. 8 months since I was placed on paid administrative leave for doing absolutely nothing wrong while they figure things out. I've been forgotten and abandoned. My fight for accommodation and justice broke me. The shame, the judgment, the discrimination broke me. And now, all my symptoms have returned worse than ever. The depression, the anxiety, the nightmares, all crushing me. Now the panic attacks. The one I had last week left me on the floor for half an hour. I know what a heart attack is, and I could swear I was having a heart attack. And I wish sometimes that I had, because it just hurts so bad. A door shuts. I realize I'm in my truck. I'm in the parking lot at Safeway staring at my steering wheel. I've been here for a little over an hour. This has been happening a lot lately. Frozen, staring at myself from the outside, unable to move, the pathetic shell of a man. I am absolutely lost. I have no hope, and I no longer care. It's a month later, September 19th, 2019, and a firefighter just killed himself in my community. My heart is so heavy with the death of a brother battling his demons. And I know that suicide is now a firefighter's #1 cause of death, but that's not going to happen to me. I got this. I don't want to die. I just want that pain and that confusion to stop. Then there's this voice in the back of my head, and it's telling me I might be next. And I try to shove it down, and I don't want to hear it. But it's there. And I start to believe it, and I'm scared. I haven't felt anything in a long time, but now I feel scared, and I don't know what to do. It's a week later. I just made the bravest phone call of my life. The call for help. I'm on the phone with the inpatient facility for firefighters with PTSD. Within a minute of talking to them, a huge burden is lifted. They understand what I'm going through. They've had similar experiences, and they can help. I get to bring my dog, my family. They all support me going. They love and care for me, and they want me to get help. I am excited and hopeful for the first time in almost a year. I get to go to inpatient. I get help. I hope this works. 31 days now at inpatient. I'm building a dollhouse with a great friend of mine that I made here. He brought it with him. It's for his daughter when he gets back home. It's an amazing dollhouse. There's 64 awesome firefighters here, all having done courageous, phenomenal things in the service of others across the country. People I would be honored to work with in any disaster. All of us suffered far longer than we needed to because of the shame and discrimination and the fear of being seen as unfit to do our job. And so we suffered and destroyed our minds and our bodies and our families. But now we're here, brave enough to heal. And in the daytime, the clinicians teach us how to unravel and sort through our traumas, how to find balance, how to work on awareness, how to take care of things even when things aren't going very well. Instead of bringing ourselves down, we learn to lift ourselves up. And in the nighttime is when the magic happens, because the brotherhood, it beats stigma. We share our stories in connection, not in competition. We all build and grow off of each other's experiences, and we all see the suffering and mental anguish that we've been through as a source of strength, a source of pride, and something that's going to make us stronger and even better than we were before. And when any of us falls down, and when I fell down, because there were dark times, there was always a flood of brothers there to lift me up and to let me know I wasn't alone. And now I stand here happy, genuinely happy, not even worried that I'm not going to be happy, just happy, building a dollhouse at inpatient. And I feel like I'm looking forward to the life that's ahead of me. And I can't remember when it's been like that before. I'm in the woods. I'm with my wonderful little grandson, my dog. We're breathing in the fresh air. As I breathe in, they both copy me. This is a happy, happy place. I try to make it to this place in my mind and heart often. It's been 1.5 years since I was at inpatient, and a little over 1 year since I've been back on duty as a firefighter, still without my dog, still fighting for accommodation. But I handle things different now. I'm aware of what goes on for me, and when I struggle and when I suffer, I know what I can do. And it's not perfect, and it's not easy, but it's beautiful. And I'm no longer ashamed of my story. I tell it whenever I can, because my story is not about suffering and despair. My story is about surviving so much that PTSD threw at me for so many years. I was so strong, and it was so hard. And then being broken by stigma, by discrimination, by my own inner judgment that I was not enough because I had a mental illness. It broke me. But I wasn't going to stay broke, because my story is about recovery, about seeking help and getting it, and about putting in the time, day after day, hour after hour, month after month. The journaling, the counseling, the meditation, the exercise, the time in the woods, the open communication with the family, the creating of a support group so that when I fell down and couldn't get up, I had enough courage to phone someone who anytime, day or night, would drop everything to be there for me and made sure I could get back up. And my story is about hope. all of the hours and hours and energy put in to mental health, education, and awareness, I have learned how to care for myself and those around me. I've become empowered to bring mental health awareness and stigma-reducing education into my community, into the fire service, and I have found a passion and a home and a brother and sisterhood with all the people working to help those suffering with mental health challenges. I now know that some things will always hurt. And I left a piece of myself on that mountain saving my brother's life that I won't get back. But I gained something that I would not trade for the world, because my heart is so big and my light is so bright. I want to tell my story so that if there's anyone out there suffering in the dark, afraid, alone, that I can reach you. Let you know it's okay. You're not alone. I'm right here with you. It's gonna be all right. Help's coming. Please, just hold on. 10 more minutes. I love you. Thank you.
All right. Somehow, we've reached the end of our program with these 5 unforgettable stories. I would like to invite our 5 storytellers to come join me on stage and receive acknowledgement, as well as, thank you. Also Susan Feet, Casey Rom, director and assistant director. I'm going to get out of your way so you can soak it in. We're going to try this curtain call thing one more time. 1, 2, 3. There we go. And finally, I just want to welcome up to the stage NAMI Washington's Lauren Simons for a very special thank you.
I'm so sorry. I came and stood in the middle of you. Catherine, please join me. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. I'm Lauren Simons. I'm the executive director of NAMI Washington, or NAMI Washington. However you want to pronounce it is fine. I'm joined here with our director of advocacy and public policy, Catherine Seibel. I've been told by the staff of the Kirkland Performance Center that this is the largest audience they've had since they've been able to have audiences again. So thank you all who were able and felt comfortable to come in person. It's been great to have you all here. Thank you all at home or airports or wherever you are watching this amazing, amazing show and these amazing storytellers. And I want to thank our cast. This is, I believe, our 5th year. And every year, this event just takes my breath away with the emotion and the feeling and the bravery of our cast members who work for months on end with our director and our assistant director on their stories to arrive at this evening. So I'm looking forward to, yes, thanking each cast member who's with us today. I'd like to start with Erica. Erica, can you join me up here? Thank you so much. This is from us to you. Usually, you know, flowers are given, but flowers don't last. Succulents, you can't kill, really. So, thank you so much. Next, I would like to invite Yuki up. And Yuki, thank you so much for being with us and for spending all your time doing this. If you're wondering, I know you won't be able to see them. They're paperweights, and they say NAMI Washington, and they have the cast member's name and the year. And what year cast they were. And now I'd like to welcome Victoria, my fellow Diet Coke lover. Thank you so much, Victoria. Thanks. Julia. And Julia put on a fundraiser for us a few years ago. She did a third-party fundraiser where she put together a whole screening of Kissed by God, which is Andy Irons, who had bipolar disorder. And I watched it recently. It was amazing. Yes. Thank you so much, Julia. Abe is president of Nami Lewis County. For the past year or so, but I've learned so much about you tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you. So the next three people, Gabriel, Casey, and Susan, this is not their first time doing this with us. I think this is Gabriel's third year. And I would imagine that at this point they have quite a collection of black paperweights with their names on it. So we're mixing it up, Gabe. Please come forward. Thank you again for being our amazing host. We've gotten you a mug. That has your name on it. And the year. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Casey. Casey, I think, was in our second cast, and then became a senior storytelling coach, and is our assistant director. And thank you so much. Casey spent several hours, of course, since March, working with our cast. It is a March to November lead-up time, and thank you so much for all of your time and dedication. And never least, but usually last in these awards is our director, Susan Fee. Susan, thank you so much. Thank you. Do you have anything you want to say?
I could cry. I'm so thankful and proud of the work that each of these storytellers has worked on. It's a very vulnerable thing to not only acknowledge your story, but to tell it repeatedly in rehearsal and have somebody ask you to tell a little bit more and a little bit deeper. So I know that you're all familiar with mental illness, but to think about revisiting that story often enough to help somebody else, I'm just so grateful for what our storytellers did. And I'm like a proud parent sitting there in the corner, you know, watching them. So thank you for supporting them in person. Later, this will come out on YouTube many, many months later. And we're hoping that you'll share those stories with everyone across the nation and other countries so we can stop the stigma of mental illness. Thank you.